I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here because, honestly, we're diving into a fascinating and incredibly relevant topic today. We're going to look at how a single barrel of oil on the complete opposite side of the world creates this massive butterfly effect, an effect that eventually lands directly on the daily life of every single Indian. From high-stakes global war rooms all the way down to your local grocery store, the connections here are definitely going to surprise you. So let's get into it. All right, let's just jump right in with a massive number that's been sending literal shockwaves across the globe, $115. That's the recent price spike for just a single barrel of Brent crude oil. We're looking at a global crisis where the epicenter is thousands of miles away, but trust me, the economic tremors, they're being felt absolutely everywhere.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering 1. The global oil market crisis. 2. The economic strike on India. 3. The common public and inflation. 4. Geopolitics and diplomacy. 5. The government shield and strategy. And finally, 6. India's future energy security.
Okay, starting with part 1, the global oil market crisis, the origins of the shockwave.
To really wrap your head around the sheer scale of the global shortfall, it's staggering. According to the International Energy Agency, the world is currently facing a daily global supply deficit of 1.5 million barrels. Let that sink in. Every single day, the world consumes 1.5 million more barrels than it actually produces. The globe is just rapidly draining its oil safety net. And analysts are warning that if this keeps up, there's no way around it. Prices could skyrocket to $130 or even $140 a barrel.
So you might be wondering, what's causing this massive drought in supply? Well, it's a really complex mix of global forces. We're seeing severe geopolitical tensions flaring up in the Middle East, especially involving the US and Iran. Right alongside that, the OPEC Plus alliance is strategically cutting their own production. Why? To control prices and flex their energy diplomacy. And as a direct result of all this conflict, the oceans themselves have just become riskier to navigate. Marine insurance premiums from massive oil tankers are absolutely surging, and ships are being forced to take much longer, far more expensive delivery routes.
Moving on to part 2, the economic strike on India, a nation's vulnerability exposed.
Look, India's exposure here is, frankly, immense. We are the world's third largest oil importer, and we rely on foreign nations, heavily from the Middle East, for over 85% of our crude oil needs. We only produce 15% domestically. When you rely on the outside world for 85% of the fuel that keeps your entire country running, a global supply shock isn't just a minor inconvenience, right? It is a massive immediate vulnerability. And it's actually not just the price of the oil that's the problem. It's the money we use to buy it. We're looking at a brutal currency war compounding the entire crisis. Global oil is traded in US dollars. Right now, as the US dollar strengthens, the Indian rupee has weakened, touching historical lows around 95.74 against the dollar. So not only has the oil itself gotten way more expensive, but the currency we have to use to buy it has lost a ton of purchasing power. It's a double-edged sword, and it makes our massive imports brutally expensive. The macroeconomic blows to the country from all this are huge. The Asian Development Bank projects this oil shock could drag India's GDP growth down by roughly 0.6%, bringing it into the 6.3 to 6.7% range. And because we're paying so much more for imported oil, there is extreme pressure on our foreign exchange reserves. To make matters even tighter, global instability has spooked foreign portfolio investors, causing them to pull billions of dollars in capital right out of Indian markets. Which brings us to part 3, the common public and inflation. From the ocean, straight to your kitchen. Okay, let's connect the dots here. How exactly does a war halfway across the world make your local vegetables more expensive? It's a chain reaction called cost-push inflation. Step 1, global oil prices rise. Step 2, diesel gets super expensive, which means the trucks moving our goods face huge jumps in freight and logistics costs. Step 3, running tractors gets pricey, and a lack of gas drives up fertilizer prices, which spikes agricultural costs. Finally, step 4, all those extra costs? Yeah, they're pushed right onto the final product, meaning your daily household groceries become significantly more expensive. You can literally see this ripple effect showing up in the data. The Wholesale Price Index, or WPI, has hit a staggering 8.3%. As everyday items, think grains, vegetables, daily necessities, surge in price, consumer confidence drops. Families are forced to cut back on their spending and try to hoard whatever savings they can just to weather the storm. And that, in turn, slows down the broader economy even further. And naturally, this shockwave batters the stock market as well, taking a heavy toll on the Sensex and Nifty. The sectors taking the absolute hardest hits are the ones that rely directly on fuel just to function. We're talking airlines and aviation stocks, transport and logistics companies, fast-moving consumer goods because of their massive distribution networks, and of course, agriculture and farming. All right, part 4, geopolitics and diplomacy. India's strategic chess moves. First up, we've got to look at the physical map of energy. The Strait of Hormuz is arguably the single most critical global choke point on Earth. About 20% of the world's crude oil and 25% of its liquefied natural gas pass right through this incredibly narrow waterway. For India, it is literally an absolute lifeline. The vast majority of our oil from Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iraq, and Kuwait travels right through here. If geopolitical tensions were to force the closure of this strait, we would instantly be facing supply disruptions, LPG shortages, fuel rationing, and without a doubt, widespread panic buying. So how do you navigate a minefield like that? Well, India is essentially performing a master class in geopolitical balancing. After the outbreak of the war in Ukraine, India made the strategic decision to secure discounted Russian oil just to keep its economy afloat. But they have to do this while skillfully managing immense diplomatic pressure from Western nations. It's a strictly calculated maneuver of energy diplomacy. It's all about prioritizing the economic survival of over 1 billion people while trying to keep crucial global alliances intact. Now, here's kind of a surprising irony hidden within all this chaos. Yes, India imports a massive amount of unrefined crude oil, but thanks to world-class, absolutely gargantuan refining systems like the Jamnagar refinery, IOC, and BPCL, India actually exports refined fuel. Because of this incredible refining capacity, India manages to earn crucial export revenue during these global oil crises, which actually provides a small but vital buffer for the broader economy. Moving into part 5, the government shield and strategy, protecting the common citizen. Okay, let's unpack a bit of industry jargon that's actually super important because it's essentially the invisible shield protecting your wallet. It's called under-recoveries. This refers to the massive financial losses that oil marketing companies think Indian Oil, BPCL, and HPCL are just absorbing to keep retail prices artificially low. To give you a sense of the staggering reality here, these companies are currently taking hits of roughly 10 to 12 rupees on every single liter of petrol and a massive 38 to 40 rupees on every liter of diesel, all just to keep consumer prices from exploding. So the government's multi-pronged defense strategy looks like this. Even though global prices jumped over 60%, local retail hikes have been kept incredibly minimal. For instance, a recent hike of just 3 rupees in cities like Delhi and Mumbai. The government is also providing partial tax relief to soften the blow, and they're actively tapping into India's strategic petroleum reserves, basically our emergency stockpiles of oil, to ensure supply remains steady and panic is kept at bay. It's a highly coordinated effort to prevent the full shock of the free market from just crushing the public. And finally, part 6, India's future energy security, breaking the cycle of dependency. What we're witnessing right now is an aggressive, accelerated shift toward green energy. The government fully realizes that the era of cheap petrol is a thing of the past. The goal now is absolute, undeniable energy security. We're seeing a rapid push in EV policy, a massive expansion of solar infrastructure, accelerating ethanol blending in petrol, and really ambitious green hydrogen and biofuel missions. The ultimate goal here? Permanently reduce our 85% reliance on imported oil, cut devastating pollution, and save those precious foreign exchange reserves. Which leads us to a really fascinating question to wrap things up. As painful as this economic strike is right now, it's forcing a massive, historic transition. So, will this brutal global oil crisis ultimately prove to be India's biggest blessing in disguise? Could it be the very catalyst that finally propels the nation into a green, self-reliant energy future? It's a provocative thought, and honestly, one we'll all be living the answer to. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll see you next time.